Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Trovo Challenge of Valorant with myself, Van Silly, and along with me with Bach. And we are about to give you guys some amazing Valorant action for tonight, this evening. This is the American portion of the broadcast. Big shout out to Jason Kaplan and also to the man that did the European portion of this afternoon, at least if you are tuned in from North America. So Bach, welcome to the stream, bro. How's it going today?
I mean, it's going pretty good. Another Valorant stream for us, another chance to cast some Valorant. We've been grinding it out throughout the beta stages and now moving into live gameplay in version 1.0. And I love what we're seeing from some of the teams that have been already competing. Obviously, seeing some of the big events that have taken place over the last couple of weeks, watching teams sort of etch out their space in the system. And I think it's been pretty cool to watch some familiar names from Counter-Strike, people that I've known for years, who I always felt were dogged on and were never given a fair shake, to now be some of the best Valorant players in the world, speaking specifically of Wardell, Drone, and Sabroza, of course.
And that's right. We've been casting a lot of Tier 1 events and stuff like that, too, in the past few months, but I like these kind of events too, where you sort of get a chance to see the Tier 2, Tier 3 teams as well. Because you talked about the qualifiers in the past few weeks here, Buck. The first qualifier that we had about 64 teams that registered for the North American scene, and a top 4 moved in to the top 8, basically in the quarterfinals. And then the second qualifier, I think, had over like 120 teams. So a lot of teams actually participated in that. So big shout out to GLL, the platform that actually puts this together. And they're doing a lot of tournaments actually daily starting next week in Valorant. So if you guys want to check that out, make sure you guys check out play.gll.gg, where you can register your team and give a chance to play against other teams and not just the Tier 1 teams. Because when you're looking at these brackets, these schedules, you talked about it as well. We've seen some teams that are usually up there that got knocked out early in the qualifiers as well, Buck.
I mean, that's kind of the way that it goes, right? You start grinding your way through those early qualification stages and you get surprise wins, surprise victories, teams that you expected to see make it further than they actually do. But even just looking at some of the teams we have currently, plenty of teams in this list that we've seen in the past. Take a look at the schedule here. Obviously, we saw things break down already in Europe, starting with a 2-0 and then moving to a 2-1 for 5GG over Esoteric. And then we're going to be kicking things off here with 303 Esports Orange versus Oxygen Supremacy. Those are names that we've seen play throughout the early stages. 303 Esports Orange, a little bit less, but Oxygen Supremacy, that would be KP's team. I've seen those guys play in the past, KP, Fade, Enox, Jerk, and DSK. And then looking at that later game, it's going to be Ascend versus Way Too French. Ascend, another roster that I'm not super familiar with, but you will see some names coming in there like Freshy, who obviously had his run playing at a MDL level, making a name for himself, and then Way Too French, we've seen compete since the early stages of beta as well in North America.
Yeah, that's what I like, at least. Ascend and Way Too French is going to be a nice Counter-Strike battle, because Bearcon also comes from that area as well. I think he's like rank G recently in ECA. So, and it's always nice to see in Valorant, you always have a bunch of CS teams or CS players that just takes the upper hand versus everybody else. I'm hoping one day we're going to see like Fortnite players, more Fortnite players like Psalm, like Myth, that are going to come in and just destroy the scene too. They just need their chance to just need to, I guess, network a little bit more in that sense, and hopefully we'll see them competing with the Counter-Strike teams and to just destroy them as well. But when you're looking at the brackets too, let's look and see what we have for the quarterfinals moving forward. So for tonight, we do have that 303 Esports and Oxygen Supremacy, as we mentioned before, and Ascent and Way Too French. And tomorrow, we're going to be casting the other 4 teams, and that's I-95 versus Demon Time, Team Underrated versus Big Frames. 4 teams that we can talk about more tomorrow, but I-95 has names like Jacobson that's been around the scene for a very long time in Counter-Strike 1.6 and continues on into CSGO. Had a few things going on with like winout.net, and it's nice to see him playing for some Valorant. Big Frames, we all know him from before. Probably looking at this bracket, it will be a tough one between Big Frames and Way Too French moving into the grand finals. But when we look at the quarterfinals that actually weren't even showing the qualifiers before, so teams like Echo 8, for example, they had a tough run. I mean, they had to face off against Oxygen Supremacy in that second round of the first qualifier, where they lost in the qualifier, unfortunately. And they even tried to move into the second qualifier, where they lost, I think, in the first round, or it's vice versa. So they were pinned to, unfortunately, not to some great teams, or sorry, to some great competition, but they couldn't overcome it. And that's what it is. You want to be the best, you got to play against the best. Sometimes it's the early rounds, and you just got to come back right after. But you can look at the prize pool now as well. It is actually $20,000 prize pool total for both Europe and North America. So a big shout out to Trovo for putting together this amount of money for the prize pool to show their platform as well, to support the Valorant community. So it's going to be $5,000 for first place in North America, second place $1,800. So a big difference actually going into the first and second, but at least whoever wins these matchup will guarantee the $800 moving in here to the semifinal spot.
Yeah, but everyone at this point is getting something. A lot of the events that we've seen so far have been first and second place only. One or two of the events have actually been first place only, where it's basically just bragging rights outside of first place. So it's like, oh, we got second, oh, we got third, fourth, but there's no actual cash value. And even early on in the beta, there was no cash value. If you remember a lot of the early day invitationals, speaking specifically of the first T1 invitational, or 100 Thieves invitational, those events had no prize pool. It was literally just there for the purpose of fun, illustrating the game, showcasing what was there, the product that these teams were working on, kind of showing off their rosters, especially in the case of T1 being one of the teams who came in very early in the scene, signing a team very early on compared to everybody else. Even if they signed it piecemeal, unlike 100 Thieves, who picked up Pico and then joined them with the likes of the High Ground roster, or Genji, who signed the French-Canadian roster. They still entered the scene way faster than everybody else. I think Brax was signed within like a week of the beta being out, if that. He might be even sooner than that.
And the thing is, he got signed, and we had to wait so long before we actually had a roster finally being announced for T1 as well. So it's nice finally now that T1 has a full active roster. We've seen the rivalry now between T1 and TSM. We could safely say that TSM is still going to be that #1 team in North America. But now we're focusing here into Tier 2, Tier 3. Can these be one of the teams that could start to topple off like the top 8 that we usually see right now in the past tournaments? Because right now, when you're looking at all these invitationals that are coming through, if it's not actually for example, a sponsored event with a lot of streamers and influencers coming into the matchup, it's always like big name organizations or just names that have been known, that have high value names. They're going to be like, oh, okay, because I know this person in the next game, they should actually be one invited team. But to now see teams like Echo 8 that are still grinding through this Trovo challenge, you have 303 Orange that's doing it as well. Way Too French that's been doing very well in CLG Blitz Cups, but also trying to prove themselves in this type of tournament too, because they kind of have their ups and downs too. So I like the fact that these teams are still continuing to play so that they could start seeing some sort of consistency, and also play different types of teams that probably have been studying these Tier 1 teams and been trying different strategies where they could learn themselves in these type of tournaments to excel themselves as a group later on.
Yeah, I mean, there's some names that I'm kind of disappointed didn't even bother. Looking at like Code 7 or Together We Are Terrific. These are rosters that usually do quite well and enter into a lot of open events. I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind that, but would have loved to see their names here. But I do like the fact that we're going to see like the likes of Big Frames, hopefully. We'll be covering 2 of the quarterfinals today. The other 2 are going to be played simultaneously. Tomorrow will be the semifinals. So hopefully Big Frames is able to pick up the win so we can see them. Big Frames obviously coming in as an MDL team that basically died the day Valorant came out. We've seen that effect on Counter-Strike already. Oceanus Gaming, they were a signed org in an MDL. They had like an actual legitimate org with pretty sick logo and some apparel, and I'm assuming some salary. Players were leaving the roster to compete in Valorant, despite the fact that they were on their way to playoffs. And then they made it to playoffs, and they actually had to play 4v5 because of Valorant, effectively. So you're seeing that impact at a semi-professional level, and a part of that is because of how quickly like orgs have jumped in, especially in North America. Like in Europe, it's still very much the Wild West. There's a lot of orgs still signing players and announcing signings. Artists just recently getting signed by G2, starting to flesh out that full roster. But there's not really many orgs that have representation in Europe. It's almost entirely in North America. So there's so much opportunity there for a semi-professional player who is competing in CS to now say, you know what, I'm tired of grinding and trying to fight for the opportunity. I'm going to see if I can make a name for myself with something new. And it's been working out. I mean, look at players like Drone. Look at players like I don't want to say Wardell because he had a reputation already coming into the game, but I would say look at players like the guys from Immortals, like Kohler. Kohler was a kind of middle of the pack player playing advanced level and low MDL level CS. He was playing in rank G and rank S, and now all of a sudden he's playing for a top org in Valorant. And you can say that about a lot of the guys that are currently competing at the top level, which is one of the coolest things about Valorant is it's given great opportunity to guys who had been fighting for opportunity in other ecosystems and other spaces for a long time and just couldn't find it. And that's what's great about events like this is it gives more opportunities for lesser known teams to illustrate that there's more talent there. There's plenty of talent available in Valorant. We still haven't seen all the big names. There's going to be players coming out of the woodwork left and right who are going to be making a potential case for being signed. And I look at some of the names playing in this competition, and I see guys that I know show great promise because I watched them in their Counter-Strike career, and I know what level of mechanical skill they bring to the table.
No, definitely. I think you nail it. Like a soft spot for me too, talking about Immortals, because when people are trying to do opinions about current top 10 teams in Valorant, at least in North America, a lot of people seem to forget Immortals, or they think about Immortals and put them at 4, 5, 6 maybe. But you got to think about Immortals in the past, like tier 1, tier 2 tournaments, they've always placed like top 3, like maybe specifically more third place in those ones. So to be an unknown team, but still be able to rank third place in all those matches and all those tournaments, it brings out a lot, and it says a lot about the team too. I just like the fact that they continue to be the sleeper pick or the dark horse, and one day hopefully could maybe be better than what we think about Gen G, because Gen G, we put them very high at the beginning, especially when they beat TSM finally in one of the tournaments in the past few weeks, but then they just kind of they had an off tournament. I think it was like a one tournament where they fell off. They're like top 8, I think, when they finished in that T1 Valorant tournament. It's a little bit tough in that sense. But at least now, looking at this matchup here, it is going to be 303 Orange versus Oxygen Supremacy. And this is going to be a good one to start things off. We see Jerk starting off on the defender side. So we will have Oxygen Supremacy on defense with some disconnects, though. So we might have to re-host, if I'm not mistaken, at this point. So we're going to figure out what's going to happen there. But at least we have Bind. So we know Bind is going to be that first map between this best out of 3. Mind you, it is single elimination going into this one as well. So it is best out of 3 for 3-3 Orange versus Orange, or Oxygen, Supremacy. And then also the other matchup coming up tonight is also going to be a best out of 3. So Bind being that matchup, what's your take looking at this head-to-head here, Mark?
Well, I mean, Bind is one of the maps that we almost always get to see. It's Bind and Haven, Bind and Haven, Bind and Haven, Bind and Haven. Recently, you've seen teams start coming out of the woodwork, picking Ascent up, and also you've seen the interesting compositions that have come out. Code 7 and TSM going sageless on the map, and that's actually something that was teased to me by some of the players previous to the T1 Nerd Street Gamers Valorant Showdown. Them saying like, hey, you know, we're probably going to run a sageless comp from time to time. And it's kind of interesting to see the meta develop at that level. It's like a 300 IQ theoretical meta development. Like they're seeing how it's going to work to see if they can basically create the meta for that. I don't think it actually works perfectly, but at the same point in time, I love the fact that teams are willing to take that risk. I'm kind of curious to see, you know, as we watch throughout these matches, how many teams are going to start picking up Viper. I feel like Viper has been slept on in general, especially on a map like Bind. You've got a lot of creative toxic screens plus multiple one-ways with the orb. You can throw one towards showers. There's one on short. And I'm sure there's more that I don't even know about. You know, people are finding, you know, one-way cyber cages and one-way orbs constantly just by running around and flying over the map and just trying to figure out a few of them. So I always love the creativity brought to the table with Viper, and I feel like Viper is one big buff away from, or not even, one small buff away from being potentially incredibly powerful. I think her ult right now is incredibly situational. It's not exactly perfect. I think if they can find a way to fine-tune the ult, Viper could be a mainstay in 5-man compositions, taking that 5th position away in the right circumstances. It's not always going to be there. I think like you've seen Omen doing that recently, where Omen has now started to sneak in, so we're going to see the same thing coming in with Viper.
Well, even when you just looked at the European matches that we just had here for the Trovo Challenge Valorant, there was actually, I think the last matchup that I was watching on stream with everybody else in the chat, they actually had a map, and I think it was on Bind too, where they actually didn't even run a Brimstone. So even Omen is starting to replace Brimstone in terms of the person that's going to be throwing the smokes for the team, because you can add more utilities from another type of player or even a duelist that's going to help with the fragging for that composition. So it's nice that Omen is starting to get a lot more presence. I mean, the Paranoia is amazing for that close range for those takes. Yeah, I mean, it's a slow orb that comes out. You see it coming towards you, but somehow you just can't avoid it from time to time. You just look at it come towards you, and then you're just blind. And then when you're looking at a a flashpoint coming in from a breach, it's easy to turn into a 180. You see a curveball, you hear the fingers clicking, you see a curveball coming through, you could turn away from that. Somehow, just a slow orb of paranoia coming towards you is still so efficient right now in terms of flash. The thing is with Reyna, with her Leer, it's easily shootable, right? You see it coming out right away. You can have one guy, if you're actually double stacked into a site, you could shoot, the first person could shoot that one right away. The other one watches the crossfire to make sure that at least he could get one or two before he gets picked off, and then the other one that could trade off. So I do find that paranoia is a very good ability that you have from Omen. And even when you're looking at the ultimate, of Omen being able to teleport, a lot of people were thinking, I'll just teleport towards spawn. When the game first came out, you teleport towards spawn, you just walk around the map and you try to go for flanks. But a lot of the times now, it's kind of like how Drone plays his run it back as a Phoenix, is that you're just going to look for information within the site. You're doing 360s as you're coming through the teleport. Okay, I know this person's playing here, this person's playing here. You can even cancel it now, so it gives a chance for you to execute right after. So that is actually really huge to have into the roster too. But the thing is, you got to think about is that you have to use ultimate points to be able to do that. So the Omen, if you're going to play as him, you got to make sure he's got to be the type of fragger too, as well as the initiator when you have the flashes coming through.
Yeah, one of the things that makes paranoia so good is you can't turn from it. You know, every other flash in the game currently you can turn away, but paranoia is a line. It just hits you or it doesn't. So I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do, especially like on Ascent. You can stand in tree room and send a paranoia down towards A main. So you actually go through the wall straight towards the orb. And if they're pushing, you can send 2 players through A main, and all of a sudden you have this fast play, aggressive play on the defense side, which is kind of something you have to do on that map because it started out as defense heavy, but now it's definitely shifted towards attack. As teams have figured out how to play the map. And I think it'll shift back eventually. All maps are going to be intrinsically defense-sided. It's just a matter of developing the meta. And I think teams right now are currently struggling with the proper composition to put out on defense. And then not only that, transitioning that composition over to attack. Because obviously it's a balance. You can't have so many initiators on attack and think like, oh, that's what we need. Because then when you switch to defense, you've got no control. You know, I'm sure you've played plenty of games where that's happened, where you have, you know, like one character with smokes. You might have an Omen. But then you have like a Sova and a Reyna and a Raze, and you're like, okay, how are we supposed to actually
I've had plenty of those situations,
here?
Mark.
Yeah, I literally just played a game right before this broadcast. Somehow we picked up the win. You know, I had a terrible first half as a Sage because I usually play Cypher, and I was forced to play Sage. But then once we got into attack, I turned things around, and we were able to pick up the win 13-11. We barely pulled it off, but we did. But, you know, I love the way that the meta consistently is developing and shifting, and each patch it's going to change because every time that Riot tweaks something, even if it's just a fine tuning, like, hey, we've increased the radius on Snakebite and made Snakebite huge now. All of a sudden, Viper looks like a consistent play. That patch, that buff to Omen was literally just taking Paranoia and making it click cast. It went from being autocast to click cast, and all of a sudden Paranoia is nuts. Like, Paranoia is so much better than it used to be. And there was other changes as well, changes to the way that Dark Cover is cast, and I'm sure there was some stats changes as well, but one of the major things that made him at least easier to play was click casting his smoke, something that I'm hoping they'll do with Cyber Cage for Cypher, because I'm tired of hitting Q accidentally because I played Counter-Strike for years, and all of a sudden I'm in spawn and I just throw out a Cyber Cage to start the round and I can't pick it up, so...
You just got to rebind your keys, man. I bind my abilities to Z, X, and C more specifically, and even V on top of that. They're just all at the bottom where everything's easy for me to throw abilities. But when you talk about how the meta changes, I do agree with you, because just clear examples of how Cyber Cages are being thrown as a Cypher on Split, for example, as defense. People always threw that on the top of the boxes, or that ledge at the entrance of B garage, so that whenever people are coming through, he could just turn that into a one way. Especially when it slowed people, it was like so OP. And then when they removed that slow, but it still made an audible queue, it's still very useful, and people could still use it very much with the trap wires to create a good area of effect to get information and even spam the smoke, especially if somebody trips on that. I've seen another play where they throw the Cyber Cage on the top of B Heaven as well to turn those into a one-way for somebody playing inside smoke. But that being said, we talked a little bit more about the meta a little bit later and about character abilities. There's so much to say. But let's focus on this game now once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally on Blind, it is 3-0-3 Orange versus Oxygen Supremacy. This is the quarterfinals matchup, best out of 3. as we're going to move into the Trovo Challenge Valorant with Oxygen Supremacy here on the defender side.
And right off the bat, you've got this aggressive play coming in from the defense, pushing through in towards mid. There is a tripwire down. The Cypher is going to turn, but not able to win that battle as there's just far too many bodies coming his direction. I love this mass TP back to A, but they didn't overextend the play. So there's actually going to be plenty of people here on this A site waiting to greet them. It's going to be a bloodbath out there as Moon gets one. Traded out immediately, but Enox is there, and DSK and Enox going to close things out on the round as well. Oxygen Supremacy. They read that one beautifully. They push up aggressively in mid, pushing through from short. And they catch the Cypher on the backside. Cypher makes the call that they're pushing aggressively, thinking that the A site is going to be clear, only to find out that as they TP over, everyone that had pushed short decided to fall back to the site, and everything just crumbles beyond outside of the showers. So a really good read from Oxygen Supremacy, 303 Esports. I understand what they were trying to go for there, but Oxygen Supremacy showed some restraint with that push and backed off when needed.
Definitely. I think winning that pistol round or winning the first kill for 303 Esports would have changed things around towards that mid-side market. But because they were able to get that kill for Oxygen Supremacy and able to fall back or just reassess their positioning, they didn't really have to push that much more, especially when they heard the teleporters coming in from the B side. So a nice play there for Oxygen Supremacy, getting that first round into the pistol. And for this second round here, you have a fax execute for them to move inside the A side. But KP in the back of Triple gets the first kill with the Marshall, but is traded off by Jacoboy as the breach. Moving in, all they want now is a spike plant. Moon, though, going to work, draws a spike carrier, being pushed in from you as well. Sauceton gets the headshot finally. Can they finally get this plant at least, though? And it looks like they will towards the APC.
Spike does go down. The Ray is going to toss some nades out over the top. And you can see the ticks being delivered there from the tracking dart that was buried in the belly of one of the members of 303 Esports. DSK is going to move in with the SMG. It's all down to one. It's a quick closeout here from Oxygen Supremacy. They do lose 2 on the push, but it was really won by the Brim there here on Oxygen Supremacy. It was Moon locking down that push, somehow spinning back around in time to pick off the player coming through as well. KP hits the first shot on the Marshall, gets dropped as they push in, but look at Moon going spin mode right now. 1, 2, should have almost had that third, did great damage, but either way, well held there in the anti-eco. This is where it's really tough, though. If you're on the attacking side, you know that you have a massive advantage coming into this round because the defense is going to be working with SMGs and Bulldogs.
That's right. Playing a turret, basically, was Moon, what he was doing there. And it's interesting. I don't know if Moon is Fade or not, because that's usually the 5-man roster that you have for Oxygen Supremacy. I don't know if they probably had to change only for this qualifier, but this is what we were talking about, how strong that paranoia comes through as they open up with 2 kills inside Hookah, but it's a bloodbath that happens towards this B site. It's at least a 1-man advantage for 303 Esports as they're moving inside this B site. We'll get a spike plan here for Belong, but still, the Brimstone is committing inside that site. Now Moon is going to try to go for the rotate with 2 of his teammates, even the his Soul teammate, going behind the Owl drone as they spot one towards Market, make that 2 now towards the Garden, rather. And now he's going to try to smoke it out. This is actually going to be huge for them for that retake. Actually, it's going to be an orbital strike coming down, and it's not going to connect yet because Stealthy was just out of position, moves in, gets the kill into DSK, and the second one onto Moon. So a nice round there, a nice entry for 303 Esports, changing the pace and being a lot more aggressive on that Hookah side, gets the first point on the scoreboard.
Yeah, a little concerned there as well, watching the Cypher on the lurk coming through from the A site. A little slow on that lurk, almost giving away opportunities there to Oxygen Supremacy. Rebo's going to have to be a little bit quicker on that lurk. It's one of the difficult things about playing a Cypher is that a lot of times you are going to be on the back end of a play. You're frequently going to be lurking. So you have to just understand the timings. You had your teammates on site and the rotate was coming through. They were already spotted on site and he's still walking through spawn. You got to just accelerate the play to try and support your team as best as possible. Here, though, the defense is going to be working with subpar hardware, even worse than previously. So the push coming in from 303 Esports should be a little bit easier. You've got Moon on the Phantom, but then you've got DSK sitting with the Stinger right outside of Showers. Now that is lethal range right there for the Stinger. The flash isn't going to work. There's the recon dart out, and there's DSK delivering. Has to dodge these pulses coming out from the Hunter's Fury. Manages to dodge the second one and peeks out and finds 3. That's the spike being dropped as well. This is a big rebound round coming in from Oxygen Supremacy. It's now down to just Sauce, and Sauce is going to get dropped by Jerk in the backside of sight. Very good round coming in from Oxygen Supremacy. All 5 players survived.
Yeah, and most importantly, let's spotlight at least DSK on that one, because it was just a great play by him. Individual play as well, getting the angle. One mistake from 303 Esports is executing into the site and not checking the corner. You see that? That's 2 players. That's Jackaboy and also the Cypher as Rebo that are both looking towards the APC instead of clearing both corners, and they paid the price because of that. And even the 3rd player, he should have won that fight, especially when he was tagged, speaking about DSK, tagged by the Hunter's Fury by the Sova. That should have been a kill, but somehow he's able to stay alive, get that frag, and on the defense, they continue their work. An early pick from Jerk onto Mirari, which, by the way, it looks like Stealthy is playing as the Omen, where they usually have Finn in a roster for 303 Esports. So it seems as though it might be a change of roster, at least for this quarterfinal matchup for both teams. And now we have the showstopper coming down from Inox, but it will not connect, and everything is going to stay smooth, at least for now.
Look at this aggression from KP, pushing down through mid. They're effectively trapped now. You can see they're not going to expect this either. There's the spike being dropped. KP is going to peek out and find a second. There's only 2 that remain. The Omen trying to come back, might be able to take out the Sage, who is locking down that spike position. Rebo does lurk out onto that A site. Again, the Cypher there on the lurk. Stealthy looking to spot the player that was peeking from mid. Just can't quite get the timing there on the jiggle peek. Jerk deletes Stealthy, who had the operator. KP is going to go back and find a heal. It's all onto Rebo, the lurking Cypher, who had gone through the showers and managed to pick up the only kill on the round. And Jerk with a cleanup there. 3 kills on the round. Oxygen Supremacy again. Solid defense here on Bind.
Yeah, this is not the 303 Esports that I know. From watching other tournaments, amateur tournaments that they played in the past, in the beta as well, I've seen a lot of promise from this team, actually. Because look at that. When you're jumping through with a knife in your hands, you don't expect any type of pushes. That means there's a little bit less communication of who's watching our backs at that point. We thought that it was a safe rotate back. Not going to say it was a mistake on their end for communication, but more, I'm also going to commend KP from the way he pushed that aggressively and was confident in that push. But that, not checking your corners when you're coming out of the site, that's another big mistake there, and they need to recoup very soon here to come back into this matchup, because now they have no money to work with. They only have pistols. They're going to try to work as a team where it worked before, where they got this round aggression inside of Hookah, with 4 players actually moving inside there, and the Cypher up towards Long B. But now you already have a wall up. You have 2 players watching together, a crossfire towards Garden. You're playing a little bit more passive inside Hookah, but the paint shell is going to do so much damage. Inox is going to get 2 kills on top of that as the Omen dark cover comes out. But he's going to be able to stay safe and in the clear inside that site. They're not even making past the Garden so far, with the exception of Stealthy, who does get the dink and the headshot onto Inox, but gets stopped there. Spike is now down. Last person to go is going to be Jackaboy, still stuck in the smoke here at Hookah, but he shouldn't be able to do more than that. He's even located and spotted, and Jerk sweeps the kill. It's 5-1 for Oxygen Supremacy. 303 Esports, this gun round is going to be big for them now.
Oxygen Supremacy not showing any real weaknesses as of yet. Yeah, sure, they did lose 1 round, but they turned it right back around. And again, that round is the round that you almost anticipate a defense losing, because it's so difficult with the way the money works. The cash just not being ideal when you move into that 3rd round.
Well, the
Here, though, we're going to see them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. I saw you were leaning in to get a drink, so I was going to just take over real quick there. I got your back, bro. So you still also have a lurker happening on the attacker side. I like that fact coming in from 303 Esports, because they were able to get that win before, but not this time. Moon even pushed all the way outside Showers and won that fight all the way towards a teleporter. So that's an early 5-on-4 situation. This execution has now to be committed. Seems that it will be committed towards this B site, but they're just going to have to go for an all-out brawl here, Mark.
This is going to be interesting. You've got Amanda's advantage currently on the attack, but they're moving in. There's the Sova ult coming out. That's coming in from back halls. They try to wide swing into the site, and it doesn't work out early, but you've still got DSK here after his teammates do fall. Recon Dart about to go out, might be able to spot somebody out. Not going to happen. Right through the smoke goes Sauce, and it's the Sova battle that goes the way of the attack. Stealthy with the paranoia through from the tuna can. They know there's one here. Dig shots going out towards Hookah by Moon. That's forced the op out of position. It is going to be a 1-on-2. But damage was dealt to the Brim that's caused him to back off. Over towards elbow is going to be Sauce, who snuck through that smoke early on. The damage to the brim on the attack wasn't as bad as it seemed based on the dink shot that came through as it connected through the edge of the tuna can. But regardless, it's the first round in a while we've seen for 303, the first full buy from both teams where they're able to walk away with a big win. But they need to do this more consistently. They need to find more success. So there's Sauce going through that smoke. Here you've got Stealthy in from inside the tuna can. Ran out of ammo, but Sauce ends up capping off the round with a 3K. Currently in the leading position for 303 with a 7-6 scoreline.
Yeah, and that 201 was very difficult too, because on that point, Mirari already had the orbital strike as well, so it was going to be very difficult for that retake to be done. But Inox is going to turn things around early. The aggression that started at first towards Long B decides to be towards Hookah. You see that stage wall moving up, a boost coming through, a first kill coming in for the defenders, and that's Inox getting that first frag, first blood into this round. Elise, the operating, moves forward from Long B, spots a second one as the stage is forced to fall back, so that's Jerk looking for a teammate, and he's going to be met up now with Inox as they double up inside this garden. But that gives a chance now for the attackers to push slowly towards the Hookah, but somehow a long-range battle between a Phantom and an Operator, and it's the Phantom that takes the upper hand. Rebo still lurking inside the A site, looking to get an opener, gets the first headshot onto Moon, is looking for this double kill inside that site, but the Sova is still hiding behind there. Sawston is, sorry, it's not Sawston, it's actually going to be Jerk. DSK trying to stay alive now, getting that kill onto Rebo. Finally gets traded off by Sawston as I was following him right after. So now the spike's going to get planted at the APC, but it's only going to be now one person remaining. That's Jackaboy now spotted inside you as he gets the first kill onto Inox. Does have a Rolling Thunder, though, to go on his 2 versus 1. He's also been spotted, so they know exactly where he's at. Goes for the Rolling Thunder now. Gets the first one. Doesn't know where the second one is actually hidden, so this Frost Orb was actually huge right now. At least he wins that fight in the second one onto Jerk. A nicely played, at least on the defender side, but Jackaboy was just clutching that 2v1.
I mean, what are you supposed to do? The Rolling Thunder is just so strong. Pops it from back on the other side of U-Haul and just makes it work. Here's the shot early on by the Brim with the Operator, and somehow that duel works out. I mean, deep in the magazine, down to 11 bullets there on the Phantom. This ult should have done a little bit more. Does drop Sauce, and this was just unfortunate timing as well. You can see Jackie was over towards U-Haul, pulled the nade out anticipating a deeper position, turned out way closer. So it was a 1-on-3, very well played by Jackie Boy. 303 picks up another round victory. They're going to need to find more, many more. They can't allow Oxygen Supremacy to get back into the driver's seat. There's the ult coming out, the Hunter's Fury being popped by Sawston, and doesn't look like a single connection. So the ult is used, but only really pushes players out of position, and only temporarily, as well as they're able to get back into the site.
Yeah, because of the Brimstone smoke coming in towards Hookah allows them to just regain their position. So a nice valiant attempt at least for clearing the site for an execution after, but a nice counter coming in from the defense. Now smoke is going to come through. Don't know if Jackaboy is going to try to use that to his advantage. It seems as though it is. While you still have one lurking towards that back because they still have the orbital strike coming through. It was some information coming in from the Omen teleport as well, and Sawston's trying to open it up, but Jerk is standing his ground, and so is Inox inside that garden. You already have a 2 versus 1, make that a 2 versus 0 as Revo was able to get a first kill into KP, but DSK on the rotation from A through the teleporter ends them in their tracks on this push towards his B side. I think the money should be pretty broken now on the attack. So it's going to be very tough for them to try to bring this back in this first half. And indeed, you could see Marshall's coming through. Sheriff's coming through, and a ghost from Mirari. Oh, it looks like they're actually looking. Okay, they're looking for some sort of buy to stay around like 1800 range so they could go for a full buy into the next round. So it's just going to be a mixed bags of submachine guns and pistol on the attacker side and a 5-man push here, Mark.
The dart is going to spot out Rebo on short. There's a dart cover coming in to keep Moon from really spotting anything. The molly goes out. Tripwire was in as well. KP spamming through. Triple smoke setup over towards this A site. Moon with the molly kill of all things. Do they realize that they're just waiting right around the corner at this point? Moon is going to drop the stim pack to increase that fire rate. KP lets the Phantom fly and finds a third on the round as well. There's one more. KP wanted the 4-piece. Not going to happen. Moon is there to take that away from him. It doesn't matter. It's Oxygen Supremacy yet again. Just too strong right now on the defense for 303.
Yeah, we'll see if hopefully they can turn things around for 303, but it's not looking good, at least for the attack. Getting one more, maybe just to bring that confidence back. But at this point, at this rate, with how KP, DSK, and Moon are going to work right now, even how Jerk is playing towards his B side as a Sage, even Inox, everybody's actually popping off here for Oxygen Supremacy. So trying to crack through this defense is going to be very, very difficult on their end for 303 Esports. But we hope that it could be better for them once they take that defender side. So it's going to be a good round coming through at least. 3 guys working up towards long B, 1 guy looking for any pushes towards Hookah, and Rebo again being that soul man lurker. But look at that on that minimap. 3 players are actually pushed up all the way inside the corner of short A. But the execution is coming into this B site. Rebo's still bringing that fight towards A though. He's keeping in their toes, keeping them on their toes, preventing a rotation coming in from short A side. Finally, he loses that fight. So now in the eyes of DSK, as he's trying to hold their grounds, we do have some tags coming through towards long B as well. Aftershock to force KP out of position, and he loses that fight to Saucin inside the garden. But DSK through the smoke, fully flash a second kill onto Selty. Finally, it's traded out, but he shouldn't have gotten away with that second kill. Now it's a 2 versus 2. The spike is likely to get planted with 38 seconds left on the clock. Orbital strike coming through on the defenders, but Mirari's pushing forward. A trade-off, and Jackaboy wins the fight finally. And that's the round they needed. It was expensive, but like I said here, Mark, they just needed that single round.
Expensive round. Definitely expensive round there. 1 player survives for 303. We move into the final round. I'm kind of curious what the scoreboard's looking like at this point, but we'll take a look. 11-5 for Jerk, 11-5 for Enox, 11-7 for Moon. Look at the money, the way they're trying to just juggle this cash around and put the buy out there. So they're actually going to come in eventually with that double op setup, but the attack has 2 Bulldogs, 2 players with light armor as well. It's not exactly ideal. And it looks like right now they're going to be challenging that A site, at least early on.
Yeah, smokes to come through. We're looking to clear out a little bit now as KP is moving forward. Oh, he saw somebody through the cage, trying to shoot him through the cage as well. And now as Rebo's pushing forward, he's able to get the neural theft coming out as well to give the position away from the defenders. And you see that full rotation coming in from the defenders as well because we are committing towards A. We already have a smoke coming down, and a Hunter's Fury from DSK, though, is going to be able to connect onto Jackaboy. Because the smokes came down, they knew the plant was coming towards the APC, finally gets taken down, and it's a 4 versus 4. Can they get this retake now here, Mark?
This is the awkward battle. Moon and the Cypher in showers right now. Rebo spots the site or the Brim. Moon starting to sneak away towards the site, wants to get there to try and support, but is getting there too late. It's now a 1-on-4 again. That lurk, that slow play is his Achilles heel. Nice rocket in from Enox as well there from the Rays to close things out. 8-4 for Oxygen Supremacy. Rebo, I like the way that Rebo played that, actually. That time Rebo played that one really smart, playing on the other side of the showers with the camera, spotting out the player, but then just couldn't act fast enough, couldn't get in on the flank quick enough to take down the Brim. And by the time the Brim had actually made it to the door, everyone on site was already dead, so Brim starts running away, and the whole play is blown up in the first place. It started out here, though, with this push into U-Haul. So well retaken, and then, ouch, the rocket is just right on the money.
Nothing you can really do when you're frosted by a slow orb and then a showstopper comes straight to your face. Very hard to try to prevent that spike from being diffused. But again, when you're looking at the scoreboard, we need a little bit of a step up from Mirari, who seem to be struggling a little bit on the attacker side. But again, maybe they're going to be a team that's as comfortable as Oxygen Supremacy on the defender side to actually bring this matchup back. Piston Run is going to be a big one here. Is when you're looking at the overhead view, though, they are looking for some sort of split towards the A side on the defender, but look at our attacker rather, but look at the defenders. They actually pushed 3 guys down towards long B to get information. Maybe we're going to rotate through the teleporter for the Omen as well, but it's going to be a very, very hard hold for the Cypher on defense here. A 3-3 orange inside A, and that's going to be Rebo that tags one out.
The pistol trying to spot them over top of that wall as they go for the shower plant. Don't really see this played a lot in competitive play. That short wall shower plant usually doesn't work so well in pubs even, let alone in competitive play. Usually the wall gets blown up pretty quickly. But here they're holding for the time being. Now the wall is going to disappear. Damage being delivered from short. KP is going to eventually fall, though. Rebo's right around the corner, has to watch out as there's bodies building up inside the showers. The molly was right on top of the spike. They're going to try and tap it and bait them out. So here goes Rebo in. Rebo's going to get taken out. The nade comes out as well from Enox. Sawston is trying to tap that spike, trying to stick it. Another nade coming out, and this is just almost impossible. You can see Mirari's actually running away from this one, realizes there's no way they're going to win. The spike detonates, and it's a 9th round for Oxygen Supremacy.
Yeah, definitely. The wall, at least, we know that it's gotten a debuff in the last patch, but it's definitely still a very strong wall on pistols. If you don't have a stack of 2-3 guys shooting on that wall to get it down quick, it takes so long. So to be able to come in to get that wall up, to get the plant through, and even falling back towards showers, that's what I love the most, because you saw the amount of abilities that came down there, Mark. There was actually a molly to start things off. Then you had paint shells, then kills coming through for another paint shells. Satchel charges coming across it from that as well. And they're all playing through a defender's Omen dark covers. So that dark cover helped them in their position too, to actually hold that spike. It was actually very, very well played for Oxygen Supremacy. Just a little bit unfortunate for 303 Esports on that rotate, because nobody was really flanking. Everybody rotated from the spawn side, and nobody went from the teleporter. Now they're going to try to do the same thing, and it's working. It's paying off. They actually killed a spike carrier to start things off, but Inox is waiting around the corner as well. Now, just like that, everybody just gets dropped. Long-range battle from Jerk on to Mirari, and it's 10-4.
Oxygen Supremacy continuing to look strong here on Bind. Again, always a chance that this could turn around. This is a BO3, so obviously we could see 303 rebound in the next map. We've seen plenty of teams, too, struggle on Bind, even stating they just don't feel that comfortable or confident on the map. We even saw recently in the T1 NSG Valorant Showdown, TSM and T1 played in a BO3 in the upper finals, and T1 beat TSM on Ascent, only to lose to them in the grand finals. So sometimes this, whatever you put out on the map, whatever you were doing, it just didn't work. And once you counter it, once you understand it, once you see it enough, you'll figure it out later on. But 10-4, and right off the bat, Oxygen Supremacy loses a member of the team. An aggressive op play, peeking in through the showers, but look at that. It's going to be a trade going back the other direction here for the attack, as Mirari gonna fall over on the B-side defense. As Enox peeked out from Hookah, nade's going to go down into Cubby. Dark cover comes in from the Omen, spamming out towards the Cubby, not going to spot anything. It does look like they're going to be falling back and heading over towards the A site. They had an interesting 3-player hold as well over on B, with Breach and Sova both grouped up in Garden, and then they had Brim on top of Tunican holding an operator. So now they got to rely on Stealthy, who's the op player currently for 303, playing up on top. You've got Rebo, who's got the cam here as well, spotting out positions, laying down tripwires. Trip smoke's going to come out from the attack as well. They're going to try and get out onto the site and lay down the Sage wall. There's the wall right up in front of Rebo. Rebo tries to spam as the pulse comes through. Can't quite spot them. The rocket comes in as well, the showstopper. Rebo can't get the right angle, though, as the wall does survive, and the spike will go down. Stealthy up over top of the wall with that operator from back in heaven, able to connect onto one. The retake is well underway, though, here, as they've spotted at least another going in through U-Haul with the Owl drone. Sawston coming through, trying to at least take things back towards their favor. KP's going to find 2, though, and it brings it down to 1. It's Rebo. He's been in this situation before, but it's KP who is actually the one. It's a 1-on-1. It's KP now versus Rebo. Cypher on Cypher, and Rebo is able to come out on top. An expensive round for the defense, but they do come out with the victory. It'll be a 5th round for them. We'll see how they try to kind of fund out the buy here, as they spent a lot of money just to win that round.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the double op setup, you managed to survive. They only saved one of the ops coming out of that one. A little bit unfortunate as well for Mirari, because he had that op towards that top of that tin, as you were saying there, Mark. But the thing is, Inox just went for a wallbang and headshotted him. And never got a chance to even see him to let out a shot of the operator. Things though towards the A side, I saw a little bit of miscommunication too, because Breach came in from the pipes inside the spawn, right? He threw an aftershock inside lamps, which should already flush out any person that's already hiding inside that corner. But Jacoboy still decided to move inside, or Sawston, sorry, to still decide to move in and check that corner, and almost lost that fight to the raise in front of you. So a little bit of miscommunication on that part. They needed polish that up a little bit, but for this round here, it's just going to be an all-out 5-man push, and Mirari through the smoke is going to get the first kill onto Inox, but gets quickly traded out. So just like that, there's actually nobody else inside that site. We're still getting kills through the smoke. Sawston gets the headshot onto KP. That gives a chance for his teammates to also rotate to try to attempt the retake.
The Owl drone looking for a player potentially coming through that smoke, fires a dart out and does connect as well. So they know they're going to be moving around back towards elbow. You've got Jerk up top, but unfortunately only able to get one. DSK has to go hero mode right now as they're trying to get back onto the site. Rebo coming around through that wall. The flash is in, but it doesn't do anything to stop DSK, and now it's down to a one-on-one. It's going to be Rebo versus DSK, and DSK goes for the wide swing with the molly down on the spike. Oxygen Supremacy lose one round and bring it right on back. And they'll walk away as well with the operator. A nice pickup and a bonus on the round. They're at 11 rounds now currently, so even if this trend continues with a back-and-forth battle, even if 303 wins 2 rounds for every one of Oxygen Supremacy, it'll be a victory for Oxygen Supremacy in map number 1.
Definitely, and I like the fact what Rebo is doing there. You heard that timer was ticking very quickly on that spike. There was already a molly on there. He was thinking that DSK was hiding all the way back towards the spawn side entrance and not behind the site, so he tried to run out with the knife to try to spend at least time possible to try to meet his opponent and try to fight him, but unfortunately, the white swing came through and he lost that 1 versus 1. This round, though, Inox is trying to move forward from that salvage operator he picked up for the last round, but it's going to be Jerk moving forward, getting 2 kills, and then as well as KP with the Bulldog, and that's already 4 down. A stack that came in for 303 Esports that worked out well. I mean, they read it right. They just didn't get their shots. Once again, I barely saw any shots coming in from the 303 side, so it was just really good there for the attackers to overtake the site. So that should put them easily here at map point situation, and it's going to be a very long uphill battle here now for the defenders.
I have never seen the Spectre work that well for myself.
Yeah.
Jerk just flies in with the Spectre, and it just does so much damage. I can dink somebody in open territory and get instantly annihilated. But somehow he's able to just go out and just run around and just run and gun with the Spectre. It's not that I miss. I just get I get 83 and 1s constantly with that gun. It drives me nuts.
That's because you're playing you're playing Immortal, right?
Well, sometimes,
Diamond?
yeah. I'm Diamond 2 right now.
That's why.
But I play with Immortals.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, so
that's why you can get the dink, but you can never win the gunfight because they have the better weapons. I play in Platinum still, so I have a chance.
Oh, dude, I played a game last night with some of my coworkers who are currently around that rank, like Gold 3, Platinum 1.
Yeah,
I felt like a god.
You could farm.
Dropped 37 kills one game. Like, it felt so good. It's like, oh man, I forgot that I was actually decent at this game, because otherwise you just feel like you suck when you play games against people who are actually as good as you are.
For sure. At least Rebo now is looking for information. Was able to find one early. That was a Sova that he found earlier on towards that left side of short A. But he's going to fall back from that one. We don't really have that much information moving forward, with the exception of Saucin that pushed all the way down towards Fountain and actually won that fight versus Jerk. That's really good. That's a res that's been denied, but Mirari with a nice shot into KP as he walks back inside the hookah to get that kill. But it's straight off towards the A side. We're going to have to come up huge now for the Cypher, who gets his camera picked off. Rebo trying to look back here. Paint shells coming across towards the right side of the showers. Shark darts coming across as well, and he loses the fight to DSK. Now 3 players are moving through, but an orbital strike is coming in for the defender side. So yet we have seen this fight to go down, and finally Moon is going to be able to do so. No, cancel that, because the Hunter Fury also comes out, and Saucin gets the pick onto Inox.
Dual Hunter's Furies as well. Hunter's Fury casted on both sides. You can see the quick rotate coming through from the defense as they're trying to get in towards this B site to prevent that spike from being planted. The recon dart does get destroyed. Spam coming through from Tunican. Oh, Moon. You can't give him a second opportunity like that. Saucin gonna finish off the 4K. It's now 6 rounds for 303. They may have given up number 12 to Oxygen Supremacy, but it doesn't mean they've given up the map. They're going to continue fighting and trying to keep themselves alive. But you have to believe that it's only a matter of time. I mean, we've seen some insane comebacks. We've seen games where it seems like it's over, like everything's falling apart. But we've also seen the classic 16-14 after like a 15-3 scoreline where you're like, oh, dude, you fought all that way just to lose at the end. Like, you almost wonder what hurts more, losing and getting blown out, or losing after being blown out and bringing it back.
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially when you're looking at a game like Valorant 2, when it comes down to 12-12 and you lose in sudden death when you made that comeback too, it hurts as well. Now Mirari, though, is going to say, no, we're going to try to keep and stay alive. The thing is right now, Orbital Strike coming through from the attacker side is exactly what I was going to say. They used a lot of their abilities on and their ultimates on the defender side. That last round, we have 3 to work with, make that only 1 because a Cypher actually fell down. Now Enox is running through the smoke, gets the headshot onto Sawston. Mirari's going to try to trade back. Misses the shot, unfortunately. The A site, rather the B site, is now open, and we're looking to get this plant. Wall is going to get broken up here towards the hookah side. Rebo winning that fight against DSK, still moving forward, but low on HP, trying to look back inside the site, still waiting for his 2 teammates to come across. Mirari with the operator towards the elbow, gets picked off by Moon with the headshot, and now it's up to that Omen as well on this crossfire for the retake.
Yeah, you've got now just Rebo, 1-on-3 with 33 health. And, I mean, it goes exactly as you would expect it to. Oxygen Supremacy pick up the first map in convincing fashion, 13-6 over top of their opposition. Not exactly a great first map coming in from 303, but at the same point in time, you know, we've seen far worse starts to series that have been turned around. We've seen 13-2 games that have turned around somehow. You know, they bring it back in the second and third map and manage to force it all the way to a victory 2-1. So they're not out of this one yet, despite the bumpy start. There's still very much a chance, depending on where we're going. I would assume that map number 2 is going to be Haven. I assume. I could be wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's you're in that sense, I agree with you that we see a lot of buy-in in Haven, but I'm starting to see a lot of Ascent being lurked into it. But you can see it from the lower third. Haven is going to be that second map. Ascent is going to be that tiebreaker map. And that's why I think Split, because of this format rotation, even though it's the most maybe Counter-Strike-y before Ascent came out, a lot of people didn't mind playing it. But now that you have Ascent, the only gimmicks is a door. But if you could break the doors very fast, it's just very easy to play that very similar to like this 3-2 split, taking mid control and just focus on aim and execution instead of like playing with ropes and teleporters and 3 bomb sites, whatnot, right? So it's that's why I kind of see Ascent being played a lot more, especially in a tier 1 level.
Now, we did have some great highlights coming in from that map as well. If just taking a look at some of those, a lot of rounds. This was early on in the game. KP hits that shot with the Marshall, but this was the play from Moon, somehow spinning back to take down the Omen. Thought for sure he was going to line up those other 2 as well. DSK, this was a huge hero play after winning the first buy round, striking back with the stinger of all things. KP getting aggressive, pushing down mid, dropping the spike. A lot of these plays, of course, early on going to be from Oxygen Supremacy, but Sawston had a great game as well, so some great highlight moments coming in from Sawston.
Then you saw that too, like the highlight reels from that Showers pick, the 3K, the following when I think it was DSK that pushed forward, that got those 2 kills towards the spawn side. That's 2 big rounds that probably changed the whole momentum of that full matchup for the advantage of Oxygen Supremacy, because then the economy was low, the morale was probably low at that point too, because you're trying to figure out why are my shots hitting when we're having 3 pushes versus 1, we can't win it, where we're rotating, we're getting picked off. They needed some time to probably recuperate, and this is where Sawston in this round gets a 4K. So you could see now as the rounds continue to progress throughout the later rounds, throughout the later matches, they're starting to step up a little bit with their aim. Now they could actually reform a little bit towards their communication. There could be a chance we could see actually a better matchup here on Haven and a better comeback and a better showing from 303 Esports.
Yeah, this level of play, we've seen a lot of back and forth battles where, you know, the maps, the first 2 maps aren't exactly even. We'll see like one team blows out the map A1, the second team blows out map 2, and then map 3 being a bit more of a coin toss really just boils down to who's put in more work.
That's right.
You know, with teams favoring Ascent over Split, a lot of teams have been practicing it, but they haven't necessarily gotten good at it. This is kind of something we were talking about before, like the meta of the map. How many teams have actually spent time learning all the one ways you can do with Cypher and even with Viper now that people are figuring out, and learning what compositions work best, realizing that a Brim isn't necessary and that an Omen is better. You kind of you can really tell based on the agent selection early on what teams have been doing their homework on Ascent and what teams haven't.
No, for sure. And I think with that, we are taking a break. And when we're going to come back, we're going to move into the second map here, the Haven between 303 Orange and Oxygen Supremacy. Let me remind you, this is only a best out of 3, so they have to step up soon for 303 Esports. Will that happen? Stay tuned, and we'll find out here for the Trovo Challenge Valorant.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Trovo Valorant Challenge. I'm your host, Bach. Joining me on the broadcast is Van Silly. We just watched map 1 between Oxygen Supremacy and 303 Esports, and it didn't work out so well for the boys from 303 as Oxygen Supremacy took a big win on Bind, closing things out. I believe the final score was 13-6, but now they're going to be moving over to Haven. And again, it's a best of 3, so anything can happen here in this second map to force us potentially to that third map, which could potentially be played out on Ascent, which is always fun because it's a bit of a mixed bag. We don't necessarily know what we're going to get.
Yeah, and just to do a little bit of a correction when I was talking at the beginning of the stream, ladies and gentlemen, is that all 4 quarterfinal matches are actually being played at the same time, too. So the 303 Orange versus Oxygen Supremacy, sorry, we're casting that one now, but then the other one is going to be the Way Too French matchup versus Ascend, which is going to be the second matchup, but the other 2 matches are going to be happening at the same time, and tomorrow, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be going into, or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be going into the semifinals, too. And while I'm talking about these corrections as well, want to give a quick shout out to Trovo for putting all this money together and a prize pool for both Europe and also North America. $10,000 for both continents, and we're trying to see who's going to be able to win at least a $5,000 first place for both continents as well. Make sure you guys try to find all that information on Trovo Live, as they have actually a celebration going on here for the 4th of July for us North Americans, more specifically in the United States where Mark is from, where basically if you're chatting or you're getting points here by casting spells, you could actually get hat drops going on too. So you can find all that information as well on trovo.live. And the last shout out I want to give, of course, is to GLL, as they are the platform where we had all these qualifiers going through, and they have plenty of tournaments happening daily starting next week for Valorant, but also more for PUBG, PUBG Mobile, and Auto Chess. Now, second map is underway. We are on Haven. It is 303 Orange versus Oxygen Supremacy, and it starts off with the defense. 303 Esports, Jackaboy with the first headshot from the garage.
Pushing in towards B, though, it's going to be the attacking side of Oxygen Supremacy, so despite losing that early player, they are going to end up gaining site control. Sawston is in the backside of site with the Ghost, has to sneak past this slow orb that's been dropped right on the other side of the wall is the rest of his team, and they're slowly gaining up control. Now, Rebo has actually managed to get all the way up into spawn. This is huge. Rebo has the flank. He can call everything out. Moon from the corner, though, going to take down 2. Rebo, you have to strike now. Rebo has to move. They're waiting for Rebo, so it's all falling apart. Oh, no. It's now on the brim. Mirari in the site has to deal with the Molly currently. They're spraying through that smoke. I don't think they were really aware of the fact that the Molly was down, maybe not properly called out. Curveball comes through the smoke, and there's Enox on the site as well with the Phoenix to close things out. So a bit of a change up here, as we aren't going to see the Rays played from Oxygen Supremacy. You're going to have the Phoenix coming in place of that. And it's actually Phoenix on both sides. You've got the Omen, Cypher, Phoenix, Sova, Brim for 303. So no Sage on Haven, which is a bit interesting. And then Sage being picked up by Oxygen Supremacy, surrounded by Breach, Phoenix, Cypher, and Brim.
Yeah, you're seeing that Inox, the one that was playing Raze before, is playing the Phoenix now. And we also have a Phoenix from Jackaboy that's coming in here for the defender side. And I like the idea of what they were doing on that attempt of a retake. You said Rebo had to act soon. I totally agree with you. I think because he had the camera watching that flank, the spawn side, and he had his teammates trying to go push forward, then they could maybe sandwich, but somehow they lost the fight from a corner. This round, though, very aggressive push from the defenders, trying to surprise their opponents, but they're all getting picked off. And you see how far Stealthy was far back. I wonder if he tried to throw a paranoia for these guys to run through, and that's why he's like that last player coming across. Now, the spike will be planted towards this A side. We're just looking for at least some exits, some econ damage. Breach is at least very low for the attacker side. Maybe salvage a weapon here. There's a Spectre that's very close to Stealthy right now, and he'll be able to salvage. Oh, actually, sorry, it's a Ghost. So he's going to be able to salvage a pistol, which is why I understand that the attackers are all far away from that body. Don't really need to protect any type of rifles or submachine guns coming through. So nonetheless, it's still going to be 2-0 in favor of Oxygen Supremacy, but hopefully Stealthy now, who's still healthy in HP, could get at least 1 exit kill.
Stealthy actually going to get 2 somehow. Back-to-back taps coming out onto DSK and KP. So a pretty bloody round, as 303 manages to strike down a few towards the tail end of the round, make it a little bit more expensive for Oxygen Supremacy. This is where we saw 303 strike first on Bind. They lost the pistol, and they lost the round that follows. But then they were able to pick up the third round. The problem was they weren't able to chain those rounds together. After winning that third round, they lost, and that was that play with DSK sitting right outside of Showers with the Stinger of all guns and making it work. DSK also going away from the Sova this game and playing on the Breach. So a bit of an interesting juggle of agents. As far as composition goes on Oxygen Supremacy, you've got Stealthy, who's in position with the operator, missed shot, and you're likely not going to see a repeat from KP after that one, understanding that they've got the operator in play. What he doesn't realize is that Rebo has now pushed up aggressively, and again, Rebo, who's normally a little bit slow on the lurk, is going to be lurking here quickly through on the backside of the play, but KP turns around in time as they manage to get site control. So now that they have B site control, he has a reason to watch the flank. The timing again does not work out well for Rebo. DSK will punish with the Bulldog, Mirari with the trade, but the site's been lost and the spike has been planted. And again, it's a Cypher lurk that's coming through, but this time it's going to be the attacking Cypher coming in from Oxygen Supremacy. Moving around through a connector, the Omen going to the backside to greet him. There's a ult coming out on the site. It's the orbital strike. Stealthy missing the shots. The no-scope not there. KP's going to get 2. And now it's all down to 1. It's Mirari far away from the play. And the round is gone. It's going to be Oxygen Supremacy's to take, as 303 could not retake the B site.
You definitely got to be mad if you're Rebo at that point, because getting killed in that corner from KP, you're probably saying, why the hell are you looking at that corner? But you could see from the execution on the attacker side, they already had the wall up towards the left side B. They were going to get that spike down towards the middle of the B site. So trying to turn around and get a frag, it was going to be, somebody had to watch the flank, and they saw that coming. He tried to flank very quick, but they were even quicker to watch the flanks on the attacker side. So Oxygen Supremacy read them like a book. And because losing that fight, KP was able to get 2 more kills on that connector of the A site. I think the round would have totally changed if Rebo actually won that 1 versus 1. And because of that, it forces 303 into some sort of a mixed buy into this round. So Mirari is saving that Vandal from that previous round. Pistols for the rest. We're trying to get something done as a solo site holder with that rifle. But now an angle being held by the Cypher, Rebo is going to fall down. And it's going to be an easy A take here for Oxygen Supremacy.
Nice flash coming out there on the site, but it's not going to make a difference. KP does eventually fall to Sawstin, who had the Sheriff. Flame Wall coming up from the Phoenix over on A will heal Enox up to full HP. Again, it's down to 2 here, and it's likely going to be a save. You can see them running away. They've managed to scoop up some weaponry, upgrading off the corpse in mid and KP. So 303 Esports losing a 4th round here, but at least bringing some Vandals into play for the next one, saving themselves some cash for the time being. I like the way that 303 or Oxygen Supremacy is playing this one so far. I like the fact that they've gone towards B pretty consistently early on as well, favoring that B site here. Obviously, it was an A site execute that worked out really nicely. But that level of control they've been able to gather up on B. B is not an easy site to take nor control, given that there's so many different positions to clear out, and the quick rotates with it being dead center on the map makes it really difficult to try to crack into as an attacker. But they just took advantage of the fact that 303 was working with kind of subpar hardware and made it work.
That's right.
So this will be a big buy round coming in from 303. This is where they need to kind of put their foot down, because they don't want this map going exactly the way that Bind did, where they just got off to a rough start and couldn't quite get back into the game.
And it's already 4-0, right, Mark? So they have to start acting quick, and it's good at least now, because you had Mirari that was still alive from that previous round, so that means he could drop his Vandal for somebody else so he could buy an operator. Stealthy that has an operator of his own, and here comes the smoke with them lurking just under it. You saw the dots, but of course you don't see that from the point of view of Mirari, but this is going to be very tough for him to try to hold. Look how close they are inside that smoke. You should be able to see a curveball coming out very soon that should fully blind him. I know it's just going to be a full-out surprise. Mirari still lands a shot onto Inox and drops inside the site, with the second one, unfortunately, and loses that fight. And also, Garage has been conceded by the defender side. A site is open for business, easy spike plant. And at this point, if they don't get a kill early in the next 5 to 10 seconds, you will definitely see the defenders going for another save, trying to attempt a wallbang as the cannon of the gun sticks out. 19 HP as DSK did get walled. A trade comes through, but it should have been a 2 versus 0 on that fight. Now Rebo's going to try to flank himself. Sawstin is going to work as well. It's a 2 versus 1. There's no ultimate actually for Brimstone, so this is going to be very huge. They're going to go for a double peek. Rebo wins that fight. That Molly is going to be down on the ground, but should be plenty of time for them to come in for the defuse, and indeed it will. And finally, the round that they needed, they should salvage that operator inside the garage. I see that Cypher's already moving in there, so a good round at least salvaged by 303 Esports.
A little bit confused as to what the reason was for that peak. The Brim goes for that deep molly. It should be understood that the molly was still burning. You should be able to count it out. So a little bit confused as to why Moon swung so wide on that. After the molly came in, listen for the tap on the spike, or at least wait until you know the molly is dead, and then go for the peak, because at that point, if you waited, you saw it. After the defuse, there were 6 seconds left. So obviously plenty of time after the defuse, but figure out the fact that you were going to have a one-on-one if one of the players is sticking the defuse or is going to have to tap. You can play the clock. So a little bit of a confusing scenario. Aggressive play coming out here from 303, using the operator push-up on long. Mirari is going to get the best of them, and Stealthy has disconnected as he skates away off the B site. That's unfortunate. So, no, he's back. Never mind. All right.
Nice.
he teleported back. Sawston picking off one with the Hunter's Fury. Enox is there as well to drop Rebo, and they're going to have that A site yet again. They're going to try and work their way in for the retake. Stealthy does have the ult, so you have the possibility with the Omen to get on the back lines of this play. So there's the ult pop, just looking for intel, calling out positions, knows one's currently in hell, but Cypher has plenty of time to change positions.
Orbital's trying to come down as well. Jackaboy with the run it back too. A wall bang attempted, but that's a little bit too thick to try to get that kill. And it's a run it back from the attacker side too. Jerk falls down from Mirari with the operator. Now Inox as well, and they all drop like flies to give a chance for 303 to come in on a nice retake. Wasted 4 ults. Is Oxygen Supremacy that was able to waste 4 ults from 303 Esports side. But nonetheless, the round still comes in for 303. What I liked about that, at least when you talked about it, Mark, about that push from Mirari at long C, it was actually a double push. The other thing that I like too is that they said, look, that Brimstone likes to smoke towards the top of the C ramp. Let's take advantage of that. Let's push through that and go for a trade-off towards that long C. Thankfully, there was only one person on the other side, which was Moon as a Brimstone, and he fell early, which gave a chance for a lot of map control for 303 as they fell back after that pick. So 4-2 right now. They use 4 of the ults, like I mentioned before. They still have the Neural Theft for 303, and we also have a Rolling Thunder for an execution initiation for Oxygen if they want to, and they look to be all stacked here towards this garage side, to take control of that area.
There's Sawston going in with the Owl Drone, spotting the Phoenix outside to see short doors. You've got the Rolling Thunder and the Sage Res currently for Oxygen Supremacy, and you've got that Neural Theft available for the defense as well. Oh, that is terrible timing.
Wow.
I love the wall coming out too. This is such a great play coming in from 303 from Oxygen Supremacy, A B take through C garage, not something you see all that often.
Yeah.
So the spike will be planted over on the B site, and again, they're going to fall back. They love this B site, and you can see why. They seem to have a number of creative takes for it. So here comes the retake through. Enox in the back of sight from behind Gong, able to find 2 before being traded out by Stealthy. It'll bring things down to a 3-on-2. You've got the Sova very low on HP. Stealthy has to swap away to the rifle. Again, there's the flash coming in from Breach, and you still have that Rolling Thunder. There's the Breach charge coming out as well, delaying things longer and longer. The molly might even still be in play from the Brim here to land towards the spike, but it doesn't matter. KP's on the flank. It's all up to Stealthy on site now. Stealthy will get 1 before being taken out. The op's going to be picked up and brought into the next round. Really love the take from Oxygen Supremacy there. That stack towards C garage with the C wall off to get 2B. I've never seen anything like that.
No, and that's what we were mentioning before the broadcast here, Mark. Just trying to get a change of a meta into the game. That's one of the small changes that we haven't seen before, at least as casters, you and I. And it's a nice little change that gave a big advantage for the attacker side. Because how was that initiated? A curveball that came in from the Phoenix, forcing now the operator to fall back a little bit towards the spawn side. Then you put a wall up where you can only focus on the B side, where technically, from that play, only has one player playing from or inside B or the connector side of A. So you only have one angle to really look at as a team moving in there on the attacker side. That was just beautiful execution on their side. So 5-2 right now. You see that Oxygen Supremacy have done their homework. They've put the work and effort in to try new strategies that seems to pay off. Now, how do you counter that in the future? That's how meta continues to evolve. So I'm looking forward to how that meta is going to change right after that play that we just witnessed. 4 players now working inside the sewers, 1 towards long, and execution that's going to be very quick now towards the A site.
There's the Rolling Thunder coming out, forcing Stealthy off the site. They'll go ahead and get that spike planted. Enox is going to charge through, and that's 2 coming in from the Phoenix. Through that smoke is going to be Rebo using the recon dart that was down on site. Great work coming in from Rebo. The res bringing that breach back into play, but in response, the Sage will fall. KP connects onto Rebo through the wall. Enox is going to pick up 1 with the hot hands onto Mirari. It's now down to 1. It's Jackie Boy. The Phoenix coming through with a flame wall and a curveball. Opts not to throw either one. Great 4K coming out from the Phoenix. Oxygen Supremacy, again, just looks really strong. Regardless of what side of the map they're going to, they seem to have great takes. This time it was just a matter of getting on the site, but look at this. Rebo gets a couple of pulses out off that recon dart and makes it work. But then ended up dying as well, as the cam delivered a dart to his belly, and then he went behind the wall to pull it out and got killed through the wall. So
a valiant attempt, at least from Rebo. I mean, you're trying to solo hold that from time to time, waiting for your teammates to fall back or to rotate from the other sites to support you. The owl drone did, or the owl, the recon arrow really helped out as well for Jackaboy to move in with his teammates to try to get that round back, but unfortunately, it was just too strong there for Oxygen Supremacy. This round now, you can see a stack coming in from that mini-map. I forgot to look at the score, but I'm assuming they're on a pistol save right now because it's a heavy crossfire. Yep, with only 1 Phantom right now for Sawston. They're moving inside the site. Paranoid come through, but a wall is basically going to funnel everything across now for open field, open season for the attacker side. They're all dropping like flies. 1 more moving in. Jackaboy at least gets 1 kill with the Sheriff, but quickly traded off by Inox. And now with a recon arrow coming out towards that site. No spike coming through, but you could see how they're sitting comfortably right now from the long-range battles of pistols versus ARs. It's just the advantage now for the attacker side. At least Rebo gets a kill towards that flank. The only one that seems to really we've been seeing towards his kill feed that's getting things done here for the defenders, but he's low on HP this time on this 2 versus 1, and now he's stopped by KP.
Inox right now having a great game as well as the Phoenix. I really like the play from Sage going for that horizontal wall. Yep. Obviously forcing you into 2 tight hallways. You can still make it through, but the idea is you can only be on one side or the other. So you spam through, and it's easy pickings. So you've got 13 and 3 with 3 assists coming in as well for Inox, currently at the top of the charts for Oxygen Supremacy. They just look so much better than 303 currently. 303 just can't quite match the output currently coming in from Oxygen Supremacy. So naturally, what do you do when that happens? You go to a double operator setup. So 2 ops going to be brought into play. Jackie Boy going to be playing aggressive as well in Garage back behind the double stack. A bit of a risky play, depending on how they decide to approach the Garage. Usually more of a one-and-done position. But it does look like Oxygen Supremacy, again, is going to be going back towards B, and there's actually, like, no one here. B site was pretty much empty. There's the recon dart coming out to try and spot out positions. The spike can safely be planted, though, as it's back behind that steel canister. You don't have to worry about the wall bang coming in from that. Rebo getting aggressive on long, does spot 1 out and spawn. Meanwhile, there was a couple of kills that took place towards the site. KP able to gun down the opposing Cypher, though. The camera spotting them out towards mid as well. Mirari goes for the tap on the spike. There's the ult coming in, the orbital strike to try to buy some time, but it is a 3-on-2. The numbers advantage currently favoring Oxygen Supremacy. There's the Molly coming in as well on the spike, again buying more time, and now bringing everything down to Mirari. Nice flick shot on the Jerk, man. But it's not going to be good enough. 8 rounds for Oxygen Supremacy as they continue on their dominant approach to Haven.
Trying to go for a double op setup on a retake is not that easy as well on the defender side. And on top of that, when you're trying to look at how things have been played for the defender side, I think it's normal to see that it's open on that B side often because you're trying to stack up towards A and C and also inside Garage where you're a little bit more comfortable to play the retakes, but the retakes are just not happening on their end because Oxygen Supremacy, again, you see KP from the way that he's moving across, running away from a 1 versus Rebo, getting the angles and then re-peeking, keeping his opponent on his toes and still winning the fights. It's just very good right now for Oxygen Supremacy on these post-plant situations. Even when it's going to be plans for spikes towards the A side or C, They just can't seem to counter that. Now a run it back to come forward as Inox gets the kill onto Mirari. They open up C-side. There's only Jackaboy or Jackie Boy that's holding there by himself. Meanwhile, battle happens towards B-side as the Sheriff comes through from Stealthy with a headshot onto Jerk, so at least they take down the healer and the res. So it's a 3 versus 3. But they open up towards the A side. KP is pushed all the way towards the lower spawn as well. That's going to give a chance now for Brimstone, for Moon to move in, get the spike plant, and we'll see how this develops on this retake for the defenders, because look how everybody's so split off.
KP already pushed in through spawn, spotted out by Jackie Boy, but not quick enough, as KP was able to rip the Omen away. And there's the ult being popped right around the corner. They can hear the run it back finish. And there you go, Moon able to get there just in time before that Phoenix has an opportunity to really fire away. Sawston inside the site, taps the spike, gets aggressive towards spawn, knowing that Moon was in position. There's now 9 rounds on the attacking side of Haven here for Oxygen Supremacy. We were hopeful that the second map would be a rebound map for 303, but it seems like currently they're just outclassed by their opposition. Oxygen Supremacy just looks so much better cohesively. And again, you know, we talked about it coming into the start of the game. Looking at the composition, no Sage being brought in by 303 is really interesting. And something that maybe, in hindsight, is something you would like to have, especially when it comes to that B site. You know, we've talked about how easily Oxygen's managed to get B-site control. Typically, you have a Sage there dropping that wall, trying to delay on that site. They don't have that in this instance. They don't have that heal. They don't have that res either.
Now an aggressive push, though, at least for the attacker side, just to try to end it quick inside C. But Sawston is holding the angle, and Orbital's trying to come down as well as they line out and funnel out towards that site. Forced to reload out of bullets. Moon finally stops him, but Stealthy trades it back from the spawn side. Jerk puts the wall up because he does have that res. So DSK is going to come up. We're back to a 3 versus 3. Make that a 3 versus 2. Mirari is still inside the site, rather, and gets the kill with the operator. But we are able to get that spike plant towards B, and through that Cyber Cage, finally, Rebo takes the upper hand. Cypher versus Cypher. Jerk, now the last man standing on a 3 versus 1. You have an ult for the Omen, but useless on this retake or on this hold, but Jerk is moving forward. That's 1 kill, and finally stopped. They put a 3rd on the board. So at least that ends it on a 9-3 on this half. But I gotta say here, Bach, as you were saying, they don't have a Sage. It's kind of interesting. But again, because they have no Sage, what did they replace it with? They probably replaced the Sage with an Omen. That means that they have now 5, 6, 7 smokes to work with and continuous recharge of an Omen smoke as well. So maybe they're just planning for a more aggressive, better takes on their attacker side too, and will sacrifice a little bit less defense to try to come back in this game. But a 9-3, maybe a little bit too late at this point.
I mean, they do have what feels like maybe a more offensive-friendly composition.
Yeah.
But again, just not having that Sage, it's tough. It's very early on in the Sageless composition meta where you've seen that theory crafting. We talked about it at the top of the show, how Ascent has been a map where we've seen Sageless comps in the past, and teams have actually managed to make it work. Same with Split. We've seen a few Sageless compositions that have taken place on Split, but never on Bind and Haven. Those maps have always had a Sage in play, so it's really interesting to see that. And maybe it has nothing to do with it. Maybe it's just anecdotal. But you've got Stealthy pushed up here, trying to take that battle with Inox. Inox was very aggressive on long. Not sure he realizes, though, that there's one waiting right around the corner. That's the Breach, pushed up currently on long. Meanwhile, in mid, you've got this duel working out. DSK will drop Stealthy. Jerk's going to try and push through that slow orb. DSK is also on the flank as well. So despite the fact that the B site's been lost, they don't feel super comfortable going for that plant. The shot's now coming through, and there it is, right on the money. They're going to probably back off and try and plant on the backside. That's exactly what they decide to do. So the spike's been picked up, and they're actually going to just kind of scuttle on over towards the C site, favoring maybe better map control. But look at the damage that's dealt. 2 players, one very low on HP, and because of that lack of Sage, no chance for a heal.
Exactly, and now they're moving inside the site, at least on their end. The silver lining is that the 2 players on the defender side were still towards the back of the window. Now that the spike has been planted, the last 2 players are moving as a group on the defenders, and that's DSK leading the charge here with Jerk right behind him. And it's going to be a fault line that's going to try to open it up here, and they're going to flash through. But you still have one jumping in the back from the window. It's a trade-off, and Rebel stays alive. 58 HP. At least he takes down the Sage as well. And DSK still moving forward with full HP, still has an aftershock in his kit. Clock is still ticking down as he's trying to hunt him and make a lot of noise. And he goes for that 50-50 gamble to see if it was towards spawn, and it wasn't. He was holding towards that B side. Aftershock towards that back. He's going to go for this defuse, and the camera's up as well. Very, very well played here by Rebo. No time could have come through. It's going to be the round coming in for 303 Esports. Rebo, man, he's the one for me right now for 303 Esports.
Let's go ahead and take a look at that scoreboard as well, see where we're at with Rebo. Because Rebo has been playing so well, but only 10 and 11. You know, the stats don't necessarily line up with the impact that Rebo has had. At times, Rebo, we've criticized him just a little bit for being a little bit too slow on the rotate, or maybe a little bit too far behind on the lurk. But here he's been kind of the saving grace at times for 303, and that was a great round, well played by Rebo in the 1v1. Understanding he doesn't have to peek. Play the clock, use the camera, get that intel. As soon as the spike gets tapped, the camera comes out, puts a dart in the belly of his opposition. That puts fear into the heart of DSK, who is in that 1v1. Well played, and they'll come into the next round as well with that extra firepower. SMGs and Bulldogs, which practically is an SMG, in the hands of the side of 303. You can hear the shots currently coming out. It's just pistols, and they're sort of just baiting out the play right now. There's the aggressive play from Minox, who thought maybe he could get close with the shotgun. Maybe he can make it work. Doesn't work out so well at all. You've still got the Sage around the corner, but with that kill over on the aggressive A pusher, they're likely going to just filter off, and that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to go ahead and take A site control. They're going to plant the spike there. The Brim is going to rotate over, but going to be a little bit late. And even if he had gotten past Stealthy, wouldn't have been able to do much. But Stealthy is just lurking right now on the back lines of this play. Going to spot out one more as Jerk was trying to come through garage doors. DSK on the flank. Dink shot onto Stealthy, but it's not good enough. 303 Esports, a flawless round after winning the pistol.
Big shout out to production. It's 1:21 in the morning for them, and they're still kicking ass with the Observer. So great job. Thank you for sticking with us and covering the North American action here for the Trovo Challenge Valorant. This is the quarterfinals, 303 Esports versus Oxygen Supremacy. This is a single elimination best out of 3. All of these teams had to battle through 64 team signups on qualifier number 1, over 120 teams on qualifier number 2, and that's in North America alone. Europe actually had over 500 teams, I think if I'm not mistaken, participate in both qualifiers. So the community is huge right now for Valorant. It's amazing to see, and we got to also thank GLL for putting that together, and also thank DSK for this round as they're trying to close off this best out of 3 early. He gets a headshot through the smoke. More players moving forward. That's our third one. Fully blinded. Does not get the third kill, unfortunately, sorry. As Moon, though, capitalizes on 2 of his own. Last one to go is going to be, again, Rebo. First one onto Jerk. Running through the C site. Spots the Cypher towards the back. It is against KP, but KP takes the upper hand. And we now have a 10-5 scoreline in favor of Oxygen, needing only 3 more rounds to move to the semifinals and solidify $800 at least in the semis.
10 rounds now for Oxygen Supremacy. Taking a look at the scoreboard, you've got the Phoenix on top, 15-7, but Moon has caught up as the Brim, 14-9, KP just behind 13-9. Great performance from the top 3 performers for Oxygen Supremacy. We'll see how 303 decides to respond. Rebo is going to be on that Guardian, going to throw down the Cyber Cage, trying to get better position. Uses the camera to peek up over the top. Stealthy is actually going to gun down DSK, so that's a nice little start to the round. There's a response coming in from the defense, though. An aggressive Sage Wall gives Jerk a great advantage, and somehow Jerk plays games with that Sage Wall and finds a second as well on the round. So it's a 3-on-3 now, with the spike now starting to filter back towards the A site.
This is something I love and I'm probably going to learn. Usually I play Sage as a B-side Haven. I just put walls up for gunshots. And it seems as though Jerk is just changing the way that it should be played towards that B side, bringing that fight to them and winning that one as well. Rebo getting caught trying to redeem his camera towards that long A, and things are just looking so grim, unfortunately, here for 303 on the attackers. Only two more remaining. At least they have the orbital strike as they're creeping slowly towards the C side. 3 fire shots coming from A side, and Jackaboy at least opens up onto Moon. So now it's a 2 versus 2. We've evened up the tally. Mirari even watches the flank and pops KP. Last one to go, spotted towards the Fender spawn, sorry. So it makes it a 2 versus 1. No ultimates here for Jackaboy, but he's pushed aggressively to go for a curveball, but it does not get the kill, unfortunately. Fully blinded, KP gets the kill. And that should have been, if only they lined up. Seeing them split out when you're trying to lean around the corner and they're kind of separate, you don't really know who you want to aim right on the spot. Throws you off, you lose the fight, but Oxygen wins the round.
.303 just struggling at this point. Floundering about as Oxygen Supremacy has controlled this game since the very beginning. Bind, very much their map. Haven, even worse. As Oxygen Supremacy has looked even stronger here than they did in map 1. You can see the buy coming in from the attack. It's not going to be great, scraping together their pennies to pick up rifles alongside SMGs. We'll see if it works out at all for them. Rebo again going with this aggressive play, using the cyber cage to get that camera up. You've got Inox playing up close on short curveball to lead in after that first kill came through. Inox is going to find 2, another curveball coming out, but at that point Rebo was already through on the backside of the play. Jerk somehow let him through, so a bit disappointing there for the Phoenix, and it does result in a 2-on-2. You've got the Sage and the Breach facing off against 2, and look at that. Jerk from inside the site underneath Heaven. Wide swing King gonna take things to a 12th point for Oxygen Supremacy, as 303 now has to win 7 rounds in a row just to force overtime, and an 8th to force a map number 3.
I'm assuming at that point here, Mark, that Jerk, throughout all the action that happened towards Sewer, never got a kill, never was seen. Because he had the ult that came out from the Omen that went towards the Heaven sign, and after that battle, and after Inox finally died towards that Sewer, he's like, oh, it's probably clear. Let me shadow step from Heaven into the site, and boom, surprise. You have the Sage there getting 2 kills as Jerk lines them all up. So that's a minor mistake, a huge mistake actually. And it pays a price, and now they drop with 2 players early into this round. It's looking very grim here for 303. Another one to fall. Look how aggressive Jerk is. Self-boosting out in the open, inside mid, getting 2 kills of his own. And now it's up to the Spike Carrier and Rebo trying to get something done. Split off across the map. We actually have the Sova of Sawston pretty much just pinned inside the spawn. And you're just trying to make noise pretty much here for Rebo on A side. You put a camera up, you're trying to clear it out, you see nobody, but the Spike is nowhere near you to help. So he has to come up huge with the flank right now. Sawston trying to do the same thing. Sees the first gun being picked out. Should get traded out. No, he doesn't. He does get that second kill, but you still have the Cypher holding inside that window, and it's going to be KP, sorry, just towards Long. But at least Sawston did his job. It's a 2 versus 1, 42 seconds left on the clock. Neuro Theft to be thrown. He knows who the last 2 players are. Can he stay alive here, Mark?
Dual Neural Theft as well. Neural Theft thrown out by the defense, Neural Theft thrown out by the attack in response. I like this play. Rebo pushing up onto B and now heading all the way over towards A, but I like what Oxygen Supremacy is doing as well. Doubling up in spawn, playing for the retake. At some point, you're going to need to see some acceleration here from Rebo with 10 seconds left. Yep, there's the play. Has to make a move. Take some damage on the fall. We'll go ahead and stick the Spike over on the A site. They hear the plant coming through. They know where it's going to be. So at this point, they start moving on over towards A. Rebo's going to have to make it work. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh, no.
Steps into the tripwire. Now the position's been given away. They know where this player's at. They're going to start moving in for a split take. Somehow, though, gets caught off guard. And there it is. Rebo keeps the game alive as it's a big 2-piece at the end of the round. They caught the Breach going for the flashpoint through the default boxes. And 303 able to kind of scramble together around, as it wasn't really working out so well for them early on. You could see this aggressive play from Jerk. We've seen things like that before, but it was Sawston who really brought it to this point and made it possible for Rebo to then clutch the 1-on-3. Because you forget at that point he was the last survivor, taking down KP, going for the dual Neural Theft exchange actually. But again, they have to do this now 6 more times just to force OT.
One thing that's good, though, at least, is Salvation. They win a 5 versus 2. They're trying to bring it forward. They have the momentum now from that clutch. And it starts off with the Hunter's Fury to clear out the area of sewers. And we get the first kill coming in from Rebo again. Now he's throwing the cages, he's throwing the wire, throwing another cage as well, trying to slow down as much as he can towards that site or deny information on a retake on the defender side, who they actually have a res, and they also have a Rolling Thunder to work with too. First one to tag, camera to come up at the same time too. Rolling Thunder, that's not going to affect him, but an aftershock coming across as well. But he still manages to get the kill onto Inox before he falls down, so he did his part. Can the rest of his team do the same thing as well? DSK in the back of the site as he's spotted here by a Sova arrow. A nice molly on the ground. A wall to come up though, but it's greatly countered by that molly. But wall bangs after wall bangs, orbital strike on top of that. A kill to come through just to secure that one, and it's a 2 versus 1. Clock is still ticking down, no more time left finally, and they still manage to stay alive. They use a lot of ultimates, and thankfully though, I think they broke the wallet too from Oxygen Supremacy.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the scoreboard to see what the buy is going to look like coming into this round. Yeah, not good. So we were ready to write them off. We thought this game was over, but 303 has found something here. They found the weakness. Finally, they've managed to make it work, and now they've broken their opponent. Problem is, Jerk still has a gun, and we've seen Jerk time and time again pick up an early lead. Yeah, he's annoying. He's that player you don't want to play against. He's that guy that's in that position you never expect him to be in. So frustrating and annoying to deal with. And we'll see if that's going to be the case here. Jerk using that smoke and the slow orb in mid to get aggressive. Jackie Boy spots the Phoenix pushing through. It'll be Sawston, though, that picks up the kill. But there's Jerk with the wallbang onto Stealthy in towards window. So a nice response coming in from Oxygen Supremacy, using the one rifle they've got. You've also got aggression from Breach, pushed up all the way currently over in the cubby on C Long. So right now, I really like the setup we're seeing from Oxygen Supremacy.
Mm-hmm. It actually surprises me too, though, that they actually rotated Jerk all the way towards Long C. Because you already had that breach in that cubby, you get that audible cue if anybody's trying to move forward. But they're playing super passive, giving a garage right now to the attackers, and finally you have the Brimstone that's watching it from the back. But B is pretty much weak, and the attackers seem to be walking right into the garage area where they have sort of this crossfire setup from these 3 players towards the defender side of Oxygen Supremacy. It has to come up huge right now on this battle at Long C, but they're holding right the corner. It's going to be Rebo that at least wins that fight versus DSK. They're moving forward inside that site. Jerk finally gets traded off too, so that's the rifle down. And now Brimstone is spotted towards the back of the site. Rebo's going to pop him as well. But again, with the buy that they have, they only had 1 Phantom that they saved in that previous round, a couple of pistols, and it's still a 2 versus 1. KP's moving forward right now. He's going to look for a shot with the Sheriff, and at least they get the round here for 303. But again, that buy was really low. You saw one of the players here, Mark, that only had a Bulldog, so they should have somewhat of a low buy into this one here, if I'm not mistaken, for the attacker side. And Oxygen Supremacy have the money back in their bank. .303 finding something. They've found a second wind. Ironic that they were out of breath given that they're facing off against Oxygen Supremacy, but it's working out nicely for them. KP gets aggressive on Long, and that is punished rapidly by Stealthy, who hits a follow-up shot as well on Inox, the Phoenix. Straight to the dome as well. You've got Rebo getting aggressive. There's one right on the other side. Wants to go through that smoke and potentially pick up one of those guns. Going to spot one out with the cam. Wanders into it. Doesn't make a difference. That moon was close. They know there's one more. The low tripwire does work, but Sawston closes things out. And now the Breach, the last one standing, is like, guys, what just happened? I mean, an absolutely beautiful round coming in from 303. They found some confidence here as Oxygen Supremacy just kind of got caught off guard. They went for that double peek on Long and got busted by the op pretty fast. And then the round just fell apart from there. And they had plenty of money. I thought that they were going to be low on Bulldogs and stuff like that too, but we saw Phantoms across the board, Vandals. Yeah, okay, we saw a Guardian here from Mirari, but it's only like, what, 100 credits difference versus the Vandal or the Phantom, so I still think it's an amazing gun still. He's going to drop it and opt for the Phantom instead. A low buy coming through, a force buy for Oxygen Supremacy because of the lost bonuses that they're getting so far, so they're buying as low as they can to still get rifles into the next round. But like Mark said, it's a beautiful round that was executed there by 303 Esports. Aggression fully denied by the attacker side as they were hiding inside smokes, trying to take control of Long A. And you see how passive they are now into this round here. They're playing it super passively, giving a lot of respect for 303 Esports now. They were behind 3-9. and now they're only behind by 3 to try to bring this into sudden death overtime. Can it do it right now? With the Spectres playing close range here for Oxygen Supremacy, it's still a tough one here for 303 Esports.
It feels like they waited a little too long to find whatever it is that's working for them here. Now, the Phoenix in the corner are going to get spotted, but it's actually Rebo who strikes onto KP. So the Cypher being taken out here on defense. They do have the Sage res, so they can bring him back into play, especially given the positioning. It looks like he's up in heaven, so certainly a possibility. But look at this. They're moving that spike back towards C. DSK has to move to get out of this position. So DSK barely gets back around the corner, starts to hear the footsteps as well. Going to use that flash to try and lead him in. There's the flash, and the peek does not work out exactly as you would expect it to. So they're going to be moving up onto the site, and they're going to be contending with these pistols. Nice swing there from Moon, but Moon not able to survive too much longer. It's down to the last player here, the Phoenix on the flank. Currently in possession of a Guardian. First shot straight to the skull of Inox, who goes for a second peek with the Guardian, can't connect. So another solid round from 303. Their money is starting to really take control here in this second half. Look at this, 6,800, 6,900, 5,600, 8,400 for Jackie Boy. Surprised to see Mirari buying himself, given that, you know, his teammate is currently near max money.
Yeah. Imagine at that point, though, from that Guardian that was left behind from Miraria, that previous round was going to be the round, the gun that lost them the round in the series. But very nicely played by 303 Esports. I like that play, too. You get the wallbang kill up on top of Heaven. You know that they have a resurrection up for the Sage on the defender side. So, yes, probably they're going to try to rotate the Sage across to go for a res to try to win the round. So you force your team to fall back and rotate on the other side of the map, where you probably thin down the defense on the opposite side of that said map. So a greatly played by 303 Esports, and luckily for them, again, they had low buys for Oxygen Supremacy, but the entries just worked very well for 303 as well, because you did have DSK that was playing around that corner, and now Hunter's Fury coming out from Austin. He's looking at the kill. He tagged 2 at least. Inox though gets the first kill, traded off by Jackaboy, as KP though is still holding inside that site at A. So now they thin out the herd for the attacker side. The advantage comes in for the defenders. Make that a 4-on-2, even a res that they have as well. They can make it a 5-on-2. Things are finally to look grim for 303 Esports again. KP wins the first one. A trade-off does not happen. With 8 HP, still wins that fight. Oxygen Supremacy, despite a valiant attempt of a comeback from 303 Esports, win that second map 13-10. The first map 13-6 on Bind, to now move to the semifinals of the Trovo Challenge of Valorant.
Yeah, I mean, they played that one really well in general. Yeah, sure, towards the end, we started to see a rebound, largely off the play from Rebo, who was playing the Cypher. Consistently getting into that A site really proved to be a bit of a problem. But the scoreline in that first half was just too one-sided for them to come back from. They needed to find a few more rounds, and that was a big problem. That first half was, honestly, it was abysmal from 303. You need to put up way more rounds on the attacking side of that map, or on the defensive side of that map, and they just couldn't quite manage to muster up more. And I'm confused as to why that was such a problem for them. Looking at the way they played that second half, they clearly have done their due diligence and their practice, and we'll see that in the highlights as well. Early on in the highlights, it's going to be mostly the other team. It's going to be mostly Oxygen Supremacy, with rare exception where we saw a few highlight rounds. But just a little bit disappointing there in the end. You thought the comeback was going to be possible, maybe force things to OT, but it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to tell you here, though. We saw that comeback slowly move forward for 303 because they actually went stageless to try to have more smokes to execute, to work as a team to move inside the site. But then again, when I say that, it wasn't necessarily that actually brought them back into that game. I think what was really that turning point for 303 Esports was that 5 versus 2 that they actually won with Rebo and Sawston, I think was that second player that was for the team that won that 5 versus 2 that gave him a chance here, right here. This is the round that I'm talking about. Sawston getting 2 kills. It's traded off right now. Rebo wins a 3 versus 1 because of that. And then you started seeing that comeback. We were at 12-6 at that point. We saw 12-9, so they were able to come out with 3 rounds in a row right after. They had the abilities to work with 2. You saw the momentum really come forward. But then somehow into this round here, this final round, you just saw them slowly fall. because we actually switched over to an operator as well with the Sage, with Jerk, that's been toying with them towards that mid side before with the Phantom, but now that he plays more passively, more angles, makes it very harder, much harder for the attackers to try to gain control towards this B side, to try to go for any type of split towards C, any type of splits towards A.
One of the things we didn't see as well in that recap was that really awesome early take that we saw from Oxygen Supremacy, the push through C short to get onto B. So they pushed into garage, and then they all jumped through window, and then they flashed out and took a duel, and then put a wall up basically right outside to cut off the rotate from C, and then walked right into B, and then just ran back down mid for the post plant. I love that take. I haven't seen anything like that at a high level of competitive play. So it's nice to see that teams are even having a different approach to a map that's been played over and over and over again. Haven is rapidly becoming like the Mirage, and Bind is kind of, I guess, the cache of the current map pool, where we just see it played constantly during the early days of competitive play. And obviously that's going to change as the map pool continues to expand. Supposedly there's another map being worked on, a new agent coming out very soon.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I just love seeing new stuff like that when we thought we've already seen everything that we could potentially see on a map like Haven. Teams come in and deliver something creative and fun, and hats off to them for that one. But it is going to be them who move through with the 2-0 victory, as 303 just couldn't get their foot in the door. The bind went really, really wrong for them. And then the first half was terrible. Let's be real. Like, they just could not manage to do anything. So at that point, they move into the second half, and it's like, okay, now there's some life, but it's just too late. You kind of wonder how things would have shaped up differently had they flipped their start. Had they started on the attack instead of starting on defense, would things have worked out a little bit better for them?
For sure. And now I want to give a shout out to the Spike.gg, because I'm looking at the channel that they have for the Trovo Challenge in Valorant. So we've already seen now Oxygen Supremacy beating 303 Esports, so they're moving into the semifinals. The other matches that are happening at the same time basically is Demon Time versus I-95. That is actually currently 1-0 in favor of Demon Time. So we're still waiting to see who's going to face off versus Oxygen Supremacy. At least on paper, it's looking to be Demon Time. The other two quarterfinal matches that you see on the screen right now will be happening very soon. That is going to be happening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is an hour and 20 minutes. We're going to be broadcasting Way Too French versus Ascend, and at the same time will be Team Underrated versus Big Frames. So when you're looking at this bracket here, Mark, you could maybe assume that you're going to see Way Too French and Big Frames into the other semifinals, and that is going to be a very nice one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great game. We've seen a lot of both of those teams. Big Frames and Way Too French have been playing since the early stages of beta, with basically the rosters that they're playing with now. Big Frames coming in from MDL, Way Too French, kind of a similar storyline for them as well. The remaining French-Canadian CS players who didn't get onto the French-Canadian roster.
Hey, man, there's a lot of us.
I think at one point they actually called them French Canadians too, or like something like that in one of the early events that took place during the beta. Both teams very capable. And then looking at the other roster right now, Demon Time is Curtis, Bishop, Cole, Spriggles, and Witness, who's playing against I-95. That's that other match that's going on live right now. I-95 is Eddie, Deuce, Flashback, Michael, and Jacobson. You mentioned Jacobson. That's Doug Jacobson, who came in from Winout, who was he ran Winout. So you might remember Winout more for their Brazilian roster that eventually became LG. That was the secondary iteration of LG, not the early one. But still a somewhat successful team coming in from Brazil. But yeah, I haven't seen his name in active competition in a long time.
No, it's great to see him in the scene and just having fun. But when you're looking at, I know we haven't seen teams from the qualifiers and stuff like that as well, but when I eyed through that, you remember Rolled. Rolled played a lot into the beta side too. So you have Inertia, you have Evolution. I even saw XP3 trying to participate as well. Even fun fact, apparently Ninja even tried to qualify into this, and he unfortunately didn't make it. We talked about Echo 8. Echo 8, unfortunately, when they lost the qualifier versus Oxygen Supremacy, I could kind of see why. Oxygen Supremacy looked very good in that best out of 3. But when you're looking at the other qualifier, when they lost in that first round, it was actually versus like Synced and like Ronaldo and other top players from other games from like Apex and Fortnite, where they're like their team name was like one of our guys could build. So they were trolling into this one, coming in as a pug, and they're doing very, very well for their end. And it was just a tough matchup there for Echo 8. But hopefully they keep their chin up, they learn from that experience, and we continue to see more from Echo 8 from future tournaments. But speaking about tournaments, we are focusing on a Trovo Challenge here for Valorant, and we're about to get ready to go for a break. We're going to take it now, and we'll be back here in an hour and 15 minutes to cover Ascend versus Way Too French. So for Buck and Vansili, we'll see you guys very soon.